Please help me with my car.
Okay, sir, what's the problem?
Young triplets helped a billionaire fix his broken car, shocked he is their missing father. Steam poured from the hood of a Bentley stranded on Route 66. D'Angelo Hartfield, a billionaire known for his tech empire, stood in the scorching Arizona heat, his suit rumpled and shoes covered in dust. For all his wealth, he was powerless on that empty highway. 3 identical girls rode up on bicycles. They were only 12, but their focus was sharp. Lorraine set her bike down and went straight under the hood, using duct tape to patch a broken hose. Cassandra passed her tools from a worn backpack, while Inocencia wiped the sweat from her sister's face. Together, they worked with calm confidence, fixing what D'Angelo could not. He studied them closely, their voices, their teamwork, the identical marks behind their ears. Then came their last name, Rivera. His heart stopped. 13 years ago, before he became D'Angelo Hartfield, he was Danny Rivera. These were not just helpful strangers. These were his missing daughters. The family he abandoned had just saved him. Could a billionaire really face his past on a lonely desert road? Stay tuned to see how this shocking story unfolds. Don't forget to like, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe for more incredible stories. D'Angelo Hartfield kept his eyes on the 3 girls as they moved around the car. The Arizona sun beat down, but they didn't hesitate. Lorraine leaned under the hood, duct tape stretched across her fingers as she wrapped it tightly around the cracked hose. Cassandra stood ready with pliers she had pulled from a small toolkit in her backpack. Inocencia steadied the flashlight and gave quiet encouragement to her sisters. Their movements were smooth, as if they had fixed engines many times before. The billionaire wasn't thinking about his broken Bentley anymore. He was staring at their faces, their shared expressions, the way they communicated without words. A strange ache stirred in his chest. He noticed the small mark behind each of their left ears. The same mark he had carried since birth. It couldn't be coincidence. Still, he kept his questions light. "You girls carry tools with you?" he asked, trying to steady his voice. Lorraine, focused on the tape, answered without looking up. "Our truck breaks down all the time. Mom says we should always be ready." Cassandra added, "We're heading to the library. The air conditioning is free, and we can do homework there." D'Angelo forced a smile. "Your mother sounds smart." Inocencia nodded quickly. "She works a lot. 2 jobs. At the diner and cleaning offices at night." The name of the diner tugged at something buried deep inside him. His stomach tightened, but he said nothing. He didn't want to push too fast. Lorraine finally pulled herself out from under the hood, wiping her forehead with her arm. "This will get you to Hernandez's garage in town. Just don't drive too far. The hose needs a full replacement." D'Angelo reached into his car to grab a bottle of water, using the moment to think. He watched them take small sips, noticing how careful they were not to waste any. These weren't children used to excess. Every detail about them reminded him of someone he once knew. Someone he had left behind. "Your last name?" he asked softly. "Rivera," Cassandra said. The sound hit him like a blow. Rivera. It confirmed the suspicion he didn't want to believe. His throat went dry, his mind racing back 13 years. Back when he wasn't D'Angelo Hartfield, the billionaire, but Danny Rivera, a struggling mechanic in Albuquerque. He had been in love with Sofia Alvarez back then. He remembered her laugh, her determination, and her hands covered in engine grease as she worked beside him in the garage. He remembered the day she told him she was pregnant. Fear had swallowed him whole. He wanted to stay, but an investor in Seattle demanded his full commitment. He told himself he would return, that he would send for her once his dreams became real. But shame, money, and ambition built a wall between them. He thought of the last time he saw her, standing in the doorway of their small apartment, tears running down her face as he walked out with a single suitcase. He had promised to send money. He had promised to write. But business consumed him, and pride kept him silent when he didn't know how to face the life he had abandoned. Now those decisions stood before him, living, breathing, and fixing his car with duct tape. Trying to mask the storm inside, he asked, "Do you have a photo of your mom?" Cassandra dug into her backpack, pulling out a worn wallet-sized picture. She held it out casually, not knowing the weight it carried. D'Angelo took the photograph carefully, his fingers trembling as he turned it toward the sunlight. Sophia's face stared back at him, only younger, holding 3 toddlers in her arms. She looked tired but strong, the same determination he had always admired. The world around him seemed to slow. The roar of passing trucks faded. His expensive car, his wealth, his power, none of it mattered. He whispered her name under his breath. Sophia. The triplets didn't hear him, already packing up their tools. Lorraine secured the duct tape roll in her pocket and said, "You're good to go now. Just make sure to stop at Hernandez's garage before nightfall." D'Angelo nodded, unable to trust his voice. His heart raced with the truth he could no longer ignore. These girls weren't strangers. They were his daughters. The family he had left behind had found him again, not through fate or chance, but through a broken car on a desert road. D'Angelo reached into his wallet, pulling out several crisp $100 bills. He extended them toward Lorraine, who blinked at the sight but quickly shook her head. "We don't take handouts," she said firmly. Cassandra crossed her arms, adding, "We just charge fare. $20 for the repair. That's all." D'Angelo frowned. "20? You just saved my car, and honestly, you saved me. That's worth much more." Lorraine's tone sharpened. "It's not charity. We worked. 20 is fair. Nothing more." He hesitated, then slowly lowered the bills. "You don't understand. You didn't just help me with a car. You helped me find something I've been searching for my whole life." The triplets exchanged confused glances. D'Angelo's heart pounded. This was the moment he had avoided for 13 years, the moment where the truth couldn't stay hidden. His voice wavered as he spoke. "My name wasn't always D'Angelo Hartfield. Before the magazines, before the business, I was Danny Rivera." The girls went still. Cassandra's eyes widened, Lorraine's jaw tightened, and Inocencia tilted her head as if she wasn't sure she heard him correctly. "I knew your mother," D'Angelo continued softly. "I loved her. I left her in Albuquerque when I got the chance to start over. I was afraid. I thought I'd come back for her, but I never did. I told myself I was chasing a future, but the truth is, I abandoned my past. And I abandoned you." Silence stretched between them, broken only by the desert wind. Lorraine's face hardened, her fists clenched at her sides. "You're saying, you're our father?" "Yes." His answer was almost a whisper. "I am. And I am so sorry." Disbelief flickered across their faces. Cassandra shook her head. "No. That doesn't make sense. You're on TV, in magazines. You donate to schools and hospitals. You stand on stages and talk about helping people. But you never helped us." Her words sliced through him. Lorraine stepped forward, anger spilling out. "Do you have any idea what Mom went through? She worked 2 jobs. I heard her crying at night, thinking we were asleep. She was 20 years old, raising 3 babies alone while you were out building some empire." D'Angelo felt the sting in his chest, heavier than the desert heat. "I know," he said, voice breaking. "I know I can't take it back. I can't erase the nights she cried, or the years you grew up without me. I told myself sending money would fix it, but the letters never reached her. And when time passed, I thought I had lost my chance to make it right. I was a coward." Cassandra's eyes watered, torn between fury and hurt. "You built programs for kids overseas. You gave scholarships. But you left us here. We read about it at the library. We saw your face in articles. We thought maybe, just maybe, you'd remember we existed. Inocencia's small voice cut through the rising tension. She stared at him with wide eyes, trembling slightly. I used to dream about you. I thought you were a superhero. Saving the world. Helping everyone. I prayed one day you'd come back for us. But superheroes, they don't forget their own family. Her words shattered him. He dropped to his knees in the dirt, dust clinging to his expensive pants. His eyes burned with unshed tears as he looked up at them. You're right, he said hoarsely. I failed you. I failed your mother. I was so scared of not being enough that I became nothing to the people who needed me most. Every award, every dollar I made, it means nothing compared to the years I lost with you. I am not asking you to forgive me right now. I'm asking for the chance to prove that I won't walk away again. The triplets stood frozen, the desert air heavy with the weight of his confession. Lorraine's face was flushed with fury, Cassandra's lips trembled with confusion, and Inocencia clutched her bike handles tightly, her eyes glistening. D'Angelo reached into his pocket again, but this time he didn't pull out money. He pulled out a worn, folded photograph. It was the only thing he had carried with him through the years, a picture of Sophia when they were both young, grease-stained and smiling in front of his first car project. He held it out with shaking hands. This is the woman who held my heart, and you three are the children I never stopped thinking about, even when I didn't have the courage to come back. I can't change the past, but please, let me be part of your future. The girls said nothing. The sound of cicadas buzzed in the distance, filling the silence. D'Angelo stayed on his knees, waiting for anything, a word, a look, even rejection. Finally, Lorraine turned away sharply, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. You don't get to just show up and call yourself our father. That's not how this works. Cassandra whispered, if you really mean it, you'll have to prove it. Inocencia looked at him one last time before pedaling her bike toward the horizon. The other two followed, leaving D'Angelo kneeling on the hot asphalt, the broken car behind him, and the truth of his failure burning in his chest. The patched Bentley rolled slowly behind three bicycles as the sun lowered over Route 66. D'Angelo's hands tightened on the steering wheel. The duct-taped hose rattled faintly under the hood, but the sound of the triplets' laughter as they called out to each other carried louder. They didn't look back at him. He wasn't sure if they ever would. Up ahead, the neon sign of the Desert Rose Diner flickered to life. Chrome trim lined the building, and the windows reflected the orange glow of the evening sky. A row of trucks and dusty cars filled the small parking lot, locals piling inside for the comfort of burgers, fries, and iced sodas. The familiar scene twisted in D'Angelo's chest. He had left this kind of world behind long ago, yet here it was, holding everything he had abandoned. The girls parked their bikes against the sidewall. Lorraine shot him a warning glance before pushing the door open. A bell jingled as they stepped inside. D'Angelo followed, adjusting his tie, his chest pounding like a drum. Inside, the air smelled of fresh coffee and grilled onions. A jukebox in the corner hummed an old country tune. Chrome stools lined the counter, each one filled with customers chatting over milkshakes and pie. D'Angelo's eyes darted toward the back, searching. And then he saw her. Sophia Alvarez, dressed in a pale blue waitress uniform, balancing a tray with practiced grace. Her dark hair was tied back, a few strands falling loose around her face. She looked older, yes, but her presence was exactly as he remembered, strong, grounded, and unmistakably hers. For a brief second, she didn't notice him. She set the tray down, poured refills for a table of truckers, then turned toward the counter. When her eyes landed on him, her hand froze mid-air. The coffee pot slipped from her grip, shattering on the tile. The diner went quiet. Sophia's lips parted, her voice trembling. Danny. The name cut through the air like a blade. The girls froze in place. Lorraine stared at her mother, then at him. Sophia's hands shook as she pointed toward the back hallway. Girls' office. Now. They hesitated, but the sharpness in her tone left no room for argument. One by one, they disappeared into the back, the door swinging shut behind them. The room's chatter slowly returned, but D'Angelo stood still, watching Sophia step forward, her entire body stiff with rage. She stopped just a foot away from him, her voice low but shaking. "You have some nerve walking in here." D'Angelo's throat felt dry. "Sophia." "No." Her words cracked, sharp as glass. "You don't get to say my name. 13 years, Danny. 13 years of silence. Do you have any idea what you left me with? 3 babies, no money, no degree, no partner. Just me, drowning every single day." Her voice wavered, but her anger only deepened. "I waited for you. I wrote letters. I called. For 2 years, I hoped you'd come back. Do you know what it's like to sit by the phone at midnight, praying for a call that never comes? To check the mailbox again and again, knowing deep down there would be nothing?" D'Angelo's chest burned. "I tried, Sophia. I swear I did. I sent money. I sent letters. But your parents moved, and nothing came back. I thought you didn't want me anymore." Sophia's laugh was bitter, hollow. "Didn't want you? I would have given anything for you to stay. I was 20 years old, working 2 jobs, trying to keep food on the table for 3 babies. I dropped out of college because I couldn't afford childcare. Every time they got sick, I sat by their beds alone. Every birthday, every school play, every scraped knee, I was the one there, not you. Don't you dare say you thought I didn't want you." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, but her tone stayed sharp. D'Angelo lowered his gaze. "The investor told me I couldn't be tied down. That I had to cut everything from my old life if I wanted the business to succeed. I was scared, Sophia. Scared I would fail you, fail them. So I left, telling myself it was for your good. But the truth is, I was a coward." Sophia's breath hitched. "Coward doesn't even cover it." The jukebox crackled softly in the background as they stood facing each other, years of silence finally breaking open. He stepped closer, his voice quiet but urgent. "Every step I took, every dollar I made, I thought of you. I carried your photo all these years. I never stopped seeing your face, even when I tried to bury the past. I thought I'd come back when I was strong enough, but I let time slip away until it was too late. Until today." Sophia shook her head, backing away as her hands trembled. "You think you can walk back in and fix 13 years with an apology?" D'Angelo's shoulders sank. "No. I know I can't. But I need you to hear me say it. I was wrong. I should have stayed. I should have fought for you. I should have been there for them." Sophia's chest rose and fell, her fury and grief colliding in her eyes. She wanted to scream, to cry, to throw him out, but her body wouldn't move. For the first time in years, Danny Rivera stood before her, not the billionaire, not the man on magazine covers, but the man who had broken her heart and left her to raise 3 daughters alone. The office door creaked slightly as Lorraine peeked out, her face tense, waiting. The confrontation wasn't just about the past anymore. It was about what would happen next. The office door burst open before Sophia could force her voice steady again. Lorraine strode out first, chin raised high, with Cassandra and Inocencia trailing just behind her. Their small sneakers squeaked against the diner floor, but their voices carried louder than the jukebox or the clatter of dishes. "You don't get to shut us away like kids," Lorraine snapped, her eyes flashing between her mother and D'Angelo. "This is about us too. We have a right to speak." Sophia's jaw tightened. "Lorraine." "No, Mama," she cut in, her voice trembling yet firm. "We've lived 13 years without knowing why. Now we do, and I won't stay in that office pretending it doesn't matter." Cassandra stepped forward, her voice softer but no less steady. "We know who you are," she said, locking eyes with D'Angelo. "We've seen your face on the news, in magazines, at the library. You give money to hospitals, to schools, to kids overseas. We read about it because we wanted to understand why a man like that never once came for us." Her words hung heavy, confusion twisting her features. How can someone do so much good for strangers, but forget his own family? D'Angelo opened his mouth, but Lorraine didn't let him answer. She folded her arms tight across her chest. "Do you know what makes me angriest? That part of me actually wants to know you. I hate myself for that. After all those nights listening to Mama cry when she thought we were asleep, after watching her come home exhausted from cleaning offices at midnight, I should want nothing from you. But I do. And that makes me furious." Her voice cracked at the edges, but she didn't step back. Inocencia, usually quiet, took a shaky breath and spoke, her voice small but piercing. "When I was little, I used to dream about you. I told my sisters you were like a superhero. Someone who saved the world when nobody else could. I thought one day you'd show up and save us too. But superheroes don't skip their own families." Her eyes welled, but she blinked hard, refusing to let the tears fall. The diner had gone hushed again, strangers at the counter pretending not to listen but hanging on every word. D'Angelo's knees gave way, and he sank down until he was eye level with his daughters. His voice was unsteady, stripped of the polish the world usually heard. "You're right. Every single thing you said is true. I don't deserve forgiveness. I don't deserve to be called your father. But I am asking, not demanding, not expecting, just asking for a chance to earn it. On your terms. However long it takes, whatever it looks like." His gaze moved from one girl to the next, his voice breaking as he spoke. "Lorraine, if you're angry, be angry. If you want to hate me, I'll take it. Cassandra, if you don't know what to think, I'll stand here in that confusion with you. Inocencia, if I crushed your dream of who I was, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be better than the man you imagined. You set the rules. I follow them. That's all I can offer." The triplets exchanged glances, their emotions tangled together in silence. None of them rushed to speak. Sophia finally stepped closer, her hand protectively resting on Lorraine's shoulder. Her voice was firm, though it trembled with something deeper. "You don't just walk in and rearrange the life we built. We survived without you. These girls became who they are because we stood together. I won't let anyone, even you, tear that apart." D'Angelo nodded, swallowing hard. "I'm not here to uproot anything. I'm here to show up finally, however you'll have me." The girls stood shoulder to shoulder, their mother behind them, the weight of 13 years pressing down yet leaving just enough space for something new to begin, if they chose it. D'Angelo's decision came quickly after Sophia's conditions. Instead of staying in a luxury suite in Flagstaff or flying back to Seattle, he rented a small apartment above the general store in Seligman. The space was cramped, with squeaky floorboards and a single window that overlooked Route 66, but he chose it deliberately. He needed to be near his daughters, not looking down on them from some distant tower. Sophia made her rules clear from the beginning. Visits would only happen on Wednesday evenings and Saturday afternoons. No gifts beyond something simple, a book, a notebook, a tool for a school project. Nothing flashy, nothing expensive. Therapy sessions were mandatory for all 5 of them, no exceptions. And most importantly, no promises unless he was absolutely certain he could keep them. The first therapy sessions were brutal. Lorraine shouted at him across the circle of chairs, accusing him of abandoning them, demanding explanations he struggled to give. Cassandra sobbed openly, torn between curiosity and resentment. Inocencia said almost nothing at all, staring at the floor, her silence louder than words. Sophia confronted him with sharp clarity, listing the years of exhaustion and loneliness. The counselor kept the space from collapsing under the weight of anger, reminding them that showing up was the first step. Despite the shouting, The tears, and the silence, no one quit. Every week, all 5 returned. Outside therapy, visits started awkwardly. On one Wednesday evening, Lorraine told him about her dream of building spacecraft. She spoke with technical detail beyond her years, explaining designs she'd drawn in a spiral notebook. D'Angelo listened carefully, resisting the urge to offer money for programs or tutors. He asked questions instead, showing her he valued her ideas. Cassandra opened up about writing. She read short stories from her school assignments, her voice hesitant, glancing at him for judgment. Instead of critiquing, he asked about her characters, why she chose their struggles, and how she felt after finishing a piece. She seemed surprised by his patience, as though she expected dismissal but found genuine interest. Inocencia's passion was different: plants, water, and the fragile balance of the desert. She explained her science fair project on soil moisture, her voice steady as she pointed out flaws in his understanding of ecosystems. D'Angelo laughed at his ignorance, proud to be corrected by her knowledge. Through these evenings, he also learned about Sophia's resilience. She had finished her college degree online, even while raising 3 children and working nights. She admitted turning down marriage proposals because no one could match her focus on the girls. Her sacrifices humbled him in ways money never could. In his turn, D'Angelo shared pieces of his own pain. He confessed to sleepless nights haunted by the thought of rejection if he ever tried to return. He showed them the photo of young Sophia he had carried in his wallet for over a decade, edges worn from constant handling. He admitted to making anonymous donations in their names, hoping one day they'd learn he had tried, however imperfectly, to keep them close. Progress was uneven, but it was progress nonetheless. For the first time in 13 years, they were beginning, however tentatively, to build something together. 3 months passed before the trip was planned. Sophia agreed only because the therapist suggested a neutral setting could help the family breathe together outside the walls of the counseling room. So one cold pre-dawn morning, they piled into a rented SUV instead of D'Angelo's usual Bentley or chauffeured ride. He didn't argue this time. Luxury wasn't what connected them. Cassandra held her notebook in her lap, Lorraine carried a backpack stuffed with snacks and a sketchpad, and Inocencia brought a small jar with a cactus sprout she refused to leave behind. The drive was quiet at first. The desert outside was still black, dotted with faint stars. D'Angelo drove with both hands on the wheel, resisting the urge to fill the silence with explanations. Sophia sat in the passenger seat, her body turned slightly toward the window. The girls whispered to each other in the back, their words soft and fast, the kind of talk he knew wasn't meant for him. By the time they reached the south rim near Mather Point, the eastern horizon had begun to lighten. They walked the path together, their breath visible in the cold air. The canyon stretched before them in shadow, its depth almost invisible until the first streaks of gold touched the ridges. No one spoke when the sun broke over the horizon. The canyon shifted in color, first deep crimson, then burning orange, then layers of soft pink and gray. The 5 of them stood close, D'Angelo between Lorraine and Cassandra, Inocencia in front gripping the railing, Sophia a short step away. The light spread slowly, pulling details out of the darkness: stone walls, layered cliffs, and the river glinting far below. Inocencia was the first to break the silence. Her voice was soft but thoughtful. "The canyon is like a storybook," she said. "Every layer is from a different time, millions of years apart. It's all stacked together, telling the history of the Earth." Lorraine folded her arms, staring hard at the vast space. "It's broken, though," she murmured. "Cracked everywhere. But that's what makes it kind of beautiful. If it was perfect, just smooth walls, no one would care. The cracks make it interesting." Cassandra scribbled the words down in her notebook without saying anything. Sophia's eyes lingered on the landscape before she spoke. The Colorado River carved this over millions of years. It wasn't easy. It cut through solid rock, little by little. That's why it looks the way it does. Slow, difficult, painful, But in the end, it changed everything. D'Angelo swallowed hard, staring at the canyon as if it could answer him. That's what I want with us. However long it takes, however hard it is, I'm not leaving again. I'll stay until something new is carved between us. No matter how slow it has to be. No one answered right away. Lorraine kept her eyes on the horizon. Cassandra scribbled again, and Innocencia leaned over the railing as if she could see the river move. Sophia stood quietly beside them all, her arms wrapped tight against the cold. She didn't take his hand, but she didn't walk away either. The sun climbed higher, flooding the canyon with light. For the first time in 13 years, there was no yelling, no silence filled with hurt, just a family standing together, looking out at something bigger than themselves, searching for a way forward. 6 months after the day on Route 66, the Desert Rose Diner buzzed with a different kind of energy. Chrome stools gleamed beneath the lights, the jukebox played softly in the corner, and every table was filled with neighbors who had come to celebrate the Rivera triplets. The diner, usually just a stop along Route 66, had become the backdrop for one of the family's most important nights. Lorraine stood at the center table first, holding a certificate that seemed too big for her small hands. She had taken first place in the statewide science competition with her design for a sustainable solar energy system, built from salvaged panels and improvised wiring. People clapped, and she shifted uncomfortably, not used to so many eyes on her. D'Angelo sat at the edge of the crowd, careful not to push himself forward, but when her eyes met his, she gave a small nod. Later that night, she would call him Dad without hesitation, just once, but enough to leave him holding back tears. Cassandra followed, clutching a thin paperback anthology. Her short story had been chosen for publication, her name printed alongside older students and teachers. She read one paragraph aloud, her voice steady though her hands shook. When she closed the book, she glanced at D'Angelo. "You should read it," she said simply, before turning away. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was an invitation, and he accepted it silently with gratitude. Innocencia's turn came last. She held up photographs of the desert garden she had planted at her school, rows of thriving succulents and flowering desert marigolds, a project that had impressed even the skeptical teachers. Her smile was wide, brighter than the plants she cared for. She looked at her father proudly, as if to say she no longer needed to dream about superheroes. She had built her own strength, but she wanted him to see it. The night carried on with laughter and conversation. D'Angelo didn't take the microphone or make grand speeches. His presence was quiet but steady. The new science lab equipment, the scholarship fund, the school library's updated computers, all had been done properly, through channels, with Sophia's approval. He never put his name on any of it. For once, his wealth wasn't a shield or a performance. It was simply a tool to support his daughter's futures. Sophia herself had transformed too. With consistent child support and shared responsibility, she had left one of her jobs. She was now focused on her business management courses, working toward the restaurant she had dreamed of owning. She moved through the diner with a different kind of confidence, not the weary exhaustion of the past but the drive of someone finally building on her own terms. There were still moments of tension. Lorraine didn't always call him Dad. Cassandra sometimes pulled away when he asked too many questions. Innocencia loved inviting him on nature hikes, but she also reminded him that he had missed the first 12 years of her life. Sophia and D'Angelo did not fall back into romance. Too much had been broken for that. Instead, they found something steadier: shared parenting, shared laughter, shared history. He could tease her about the way she still drank her coffee too sweet, and she could remind him of the greasy overalls he wore as Danny Rivera. It wasn't love the way it once had been, but it was respect. The truth was clear: they could never recover the lost years. 13 birthdays, countless late nights, all the moments when the girls needed a father, those were gone forever. No celebration could erase that. But sitting together in the diner, surrounded by the hum of community and the pride of shared achievements, they understood something important. What was gone could not return, but what was here could still grow. That night ended without fanfare. Just a family walking out into the desert evening, still imperfect, still scarred, but moving forward together. Lorraine rose from her seat in the diner, her science medal catching the light as it swung gently around her neck. The diner grew quiet. She held a roll of duct tape in her hand, the same one she'd used months ago when a stranger's Bentley broke down along Route 66. She tapped it against the table, a half-smile on her face. "You know," she began, her voice steady but thoughtful, "duct tape can fix a lot of things. Pipes, wires, even car bumpers. But sometimes the break is too deep, too wide. Tape can't cover it. You have to rebuild, piece by piece, no shortcuts. That's what we're doing. We're not pretending everything's perfect. We're just committing to the work." Her words sank into the room like stones in water, rippling outward. Sophia blinked back tears. Cassandra squeezed her sister's hand under the table. Inocencia leaned forward, her eyes wide, as if memorizing every word. Even D'Angelo, the man who once thought money could patch over anything, bowed his head. Lorraine had taken his old metaphor and returned it wiser, truer. Glasses lifted. They toasted first to broken things that get fixed, then to second chances, then to family in all its forms. Finally, to the three young women who had saved their father's heart when he didn't even know it needed saving. For D'Angelo, the moment was both humbling and grounding. He had spent his life chasing headlines, contracts, boardrooms. He once believed redemption came from grand gestures and large donations. Now he understood the truth. It was the consistency of showing up, the quiet accountability of admitting failures without excuses, and respecting boundaries even when it hurt. Healing wasn't about sweeping speeches, it was about steady presence. Sophia's strength was recognized not with applause, but with reverence. She had carried 3 girls through poverty, long hours, and unanswered questions. She had been their shield and their anchor. The real hero was not the billionaire who returned, but the young mother who had refused to let hardship define her children's future. The triplets themselves stood as living proof of courage. Lorraine with her sharp, fearless mind. Cassandra with her gift for words that cut to the heart of things. Inocencia with her quiet honesty and dreams bigger than the desert sky. They had not let bitterness consume them. Instead, they opened a narrow door for a father they had every right to shut out. Their condition was simple but unshakable: accountability, not empty promises. The night's reflections stretched into something larger than one family. Redemption, they all agreed, was possible, but never easy. It demanded time, honesty, tears, sometimes therapy, and always courage. There were no shortcuts, no duct tape quick fixes. Just steady rebuilding. Route 66 had its own lesson to offer. Once the road that connected America, now partly forgotten and worn, it carried the story of travelers who had crossed it in search of better lives. For the Riveras, it had become more than a highway. It was the stretch of desert where a broken car forced a meeting 13 years in the making. A place where strangers became family again. The celebration wound down, but the sense of change lingered. D'Angelo no longer stood at the edge of their world. He was part of it, though still earning his place each day. Sophia no longer carried the weight alone. And the girls no longer carried the silence of unanswered questions. As the evening air settled cool against the desert, the family stepped outside together. Not perfect. Not healed entirely. But together. Proof that sometimes the greatest treasures aren't measured in dollars or displayed in boardrooms. They are found in second chances, in repaired trust, in the courage to keep choosing each other. Out there on a dusty stretch of Route 66, a broken car had brought together a broken family. Both were fixed, not with quick patches, but with commitment, time, and love. Thank you for watching this incredible journey of redemption and family. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel, We have another powerful American story dropping tomorrow that you absolutely won't want to miss. Your likes, comments, and subscriptions help us continue bringing these meaningful stories to life. Until next time, remember, it's never too late to come home.